mean, they were looking at a 1-2-3 finish.
They start down the back, they get down to turn 3, and Sterling got just enough room down on the bottom to get a nose under Dale. Dale sees him and he starts to cut down in front of him, and when he does, they touch. When they touched, his car went down the track, and when it did, it turned straight 90 degrees and went back up the racetrack, and he hit that wall.
The spin out and the wreck happened so quickly.
Michael and Dale Jr. were crossing the finish line.
Michael Waltrip ends up winning the race while all hell was breaking loose a quarter of a mile behind him.
I really and truly did not think that he was hurt.
There's been a lot of wrecks that look worse than that he came out of.
You know, Dale had us all convinced he was invincible. I think he had himself convinced.
As soon as the wreck happened, you know, Dale Jr. was like, is he all right? Is he getting out? I don't think he really knew what was going on because they just knew there was a caution and it involved his dad. So they sent for him. He went to the infield care center and then on to the hospital.
The next few hours, we were trying to talk to people in Daytona that were at the hospital.
She called me back shortly thereafter and said, Mom, my daddy's dead. My heart just broke. He was so important to my kids. And Dale Jr. being right there at Daytona with nobody.
Dale Jr. was just devastated. Everybody's in shock. Couldn't believe what had happened. It seemed like a bad dream.
There's probably nothing worse for any man than to lose his father. I mean, your father, you're the big giant of a man. He can't die.
You know, he'd always looked up to his dad, you know, like any boy does. His dad's their hero. When you got a hero that's that big, it's kind of hard to let him go.
I just kept thinking about how can somebody be taken away from you that quickly? The only person in the world that he looked to for that support and guidance and advice that he trusted 100% was gone.
We make...
After Dale was killed in Daytona,
His father.
He was in, you know, worse shape than the rest of us were.
He was in a searching mode. How do I recover from this, and what steps do I take to make it right?
When you lose somebody that close to you, it's tough to get back behind the wheel.
It was a question of, do I want to continue to do what I'm doing, and I need to do it better than I did it before, because that's what my dad would want me to do.
His competitive drive is like his father's, okay? He's never, ever gonna just stop and just say, okay, it's over with, I'm out of here.
he had to go on. He had to do his job.
No matter how painful it was for him or, you know, how hard it was for him to deal with, he did it.
Dale Jr. was obviously shaken, but he knew life had to go on because I had a race at Rockingham the very next week.
That was probably one of the hardest races I ever went to in my life.
We was all still in shock from what happened, and we just kind of went to Rockingham and went through the motions and qualified really bad. You know, we just couldn't get anything to work.
On the first lap, Dale Jr. hits the wall.
Trouble in one.
In a similar fashion of what his daddy had done at Daytona. It was unreal.
Boy, Earnhardt's car is really bad.
He crashed pretty hard. The first thing I thought of on the radio was like, is he okay? And then I finally said, yeah, he's okay. He's out of the race car. He's talking.
Under all the emotions that we were feeling already, and for him to go out there on the very first lap of the race and crash like he did was just even that much more disappointing. It just kind of made you feel that much more sorry for him.
Dale Jr. struggled for a while, you know. There was just a big hole there.
He, went to the racetrack and did his job, but obviously he was depressed.
Things weren't right. They weren't like they were supposed to be.
I think he probably struggled the most.
One of the turning points in Dale Jr.'s life after.
To the outside for the lead in turn 4. Dale Earnhardt Jr. rockets to the front at Daytona. Listen to the crowd.
You just hear the crowd going crazy.
Come on, Junior, come on.
3 laps to go, there was nobody else going to get around him.
Frantic, intense racing in the final laps at Daytona. But it's still Dale Earnhardt Jr. out in front. They've got to take the win away from him.
Put yourself in Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s shoes. You're on the last lap of the race.
Here they come, turn 4.
You're driving through turn 3 and 4. You've passed the very spot where your father hits the wall and dies. And I think for a minute, he probably had to have a tear in his eye. And knowing Junior, he stuck one thumb up in the air and said, you know what, Daddy? This one's for you. And he just hit the gas pedal a little bit harder, and there wasn't anything going to get by him.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. using lessons learned from his father to go from 6th to 1st and score the victory in the Pepsi 400.
That was beautiful. I don't think there's anybody here that didn't want to see that.
I don't think there's ever been an emotional win like that. And there's been a lot of races through the years, but I don't think there's ever been anything like that for the sport, for the fans, but more importantly, for one individual driver, Dale Jr.
Listen to them fans up there. They love that kid to death.
That was one of the coolest moments in racing. I was happier for him that day than if I would have won, so that was a really special time.
Dale Jr. on top of the car.
He won it like his father would have won it.
That'll always be one of the magical moments in NASCAR.
Storybook ending. Oh, this is great. I am speechless.
It's hard to describe the way it felt because you know that Dad was very proud of him, and watching Dale Jr. run that whole race and was with him during that whole race.
You've learned a few things through the years, though, haven't you, from certain people?
Yeah, he was with me tonight. I don't know how I did it, but he was there.
Dale Jr. felt like he gave something to his daddy.
I dedicate this win to him. I mean, there ain't nobody else that I can dedicate it to, that it would mean more to me.
To win that race relieved a lot of pain.
That really was the mark that told us you can go on.
That day, he stepped out away from his father's shadow, his grandfather's shadow, and established his own career. And what was to come now is all Dale Jr.
He became the man his dad would be proud of. You know, he became who his dad expected him to be.